what's going on then in that neighboring country? Like for like the average Polish person. Polish, right? Correct?
Polish, yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
what's like the perspective like the average Polish person for what's going on in Ukraine?
I would think that the majority of them would be more for the Ukraine. But there's a lot of Ukrainians working here, but there's also some Russians working here. I know some of the younger people left because they don't want to go into war. You know, they don't want to be conscripted into war because, especially on the Ukrainian side, if you're drafted, if you've no training,
Yeah.
you're not going to last, and nobody should be made do that.
No, there's that's so sad, yeah. So there's refugee attempts, like care packages and things like that. So it's more like humanitarian stuff that's going on.
Well, you see,
Kind
I
of.
think that's what the Polish did differently because usually when there was war areas, they set up refugee camps. Unfortunately, some of them weren't great. Like, you've people that have been in them for years from different war conflicts. But here, what happened is the Polish basically just opened their doors to them and left them in. And I mean, I know a lot of people that brought Ukrainians into their houses and helped them. And there's a load that stay here and they're working here because previously part of Ukraine was Poland. So even though Poland helped the Allies during World War II, for some reason they basically gave away half their country, but then gave them part of Germany. So it's a strange setup. So I was in Lvov years ago, and I thought this is like Poland, and apparently it was. So half of Ukraine used to be Poland.
Wow. And so is the perspective from like Poland, is it that like who's the protective who's the agitator in this situation? Is it the US backed Ukraine is the aggressor, or is it Russia actually trying to come in and take over, or like someone's just trying to feed a war to start a war just cuz, or what's like that perspective there?
Well, just from the different people I'm talking to and from what I'm looking at, I mean, if you go to Russia, it looks extremely safe, zero graffiti. You're walking around, and most people love to be in the country. There's a lot of Americans moving there, but with the Ukraine, I'm hearing of so much like attacks on their own people. Depending on the religion you're in, and obviously it was kind of connected with NATO and trying to push like that NATO would be part of the Ukraine when that was an agreement that wasn't to happen. Like obviously it was unfortunately the US and their allies kind of pushing this to aggravate Putin. So if it was anybody else, like if the Mexicans were doing that to ye, he wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
tolerate it. So he was right in doing that. But I mean, at the end of the day, there's people dying, from both sides, which nobody wants to see. And like the conflict could be resolved. Will Trump resolve it like he claims to? Hopefully, if he gets the two of them to sit down, because, I seen him in a few photo shoots with Zelensky, and he seems to have a good enough relationship with Putin. So the best thing that can happen is the thing to end and stop, necessary deaths on both sides.
Most definitely. Okay. So what I'm hearing then, and this is just my perspective, it sounds like it's more the backing to Ukraine was the agitator here, and Putin just got irritated and responded appropriately to the conflict. He didn't go out searching for it, which is like kind of the narrative
No,
here is that Russia invaded Ukraine, but it sounds like the actual perspective from someone that neighboring country is saying the opposite. That's really interesting. I'm vastly interested by that. That's really cool. What is like Poland's like the average Polish person's like perspective on like Donald Trump? Do they think he's like an okay person, bad person, good world leader, or kind of what's like the perspective on Trump in
I
Poland?
mean, just from people that I know, because it's hard to get a majority. But you see, some shows are kind of creating this, but they seem to be pro Trump because they saw that previously when he was in power there was zero wars, and I think nobody's for a war. The fact that he was doing that, but just seeing what he's doing lately, the Gulf of America buying Greenland and Canada, the 51 state, like they're all kind of things that, yeah, that's not the same Trump that was in before, but he's done a few things that, I mean, the problem is with politics, you either love him or you hate him, and no matter what person says, they're defending their belief system. And you have to park that at the door because, like, unfortunately, and I mean, I've heard previous episode that you had on, and you're basically talking about the red and blue states. And to me, that's pathetic, but that happens in most countries. And in Ireland, you had kind of the left and the right, and they were losing so much power they came together. And yet the country is destroyed. So you had Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil, and in a recent election, it was basically, I don't know anybody that was supporting these parties, yet they got the same vote. So I don't think that elections are normal. Like, they've been tampered with, definitely, because the two leaders that come together, they barely got in the last time. You know, it's like the fifth count, because the way you do it is you vote for, like, you've got 10 different votes. So you give the first vote to such a person and the second vote. So if your person doesn't go through, they carry that poll so the vote is carried forward.
Okay.
And they barely got in, and both of them were like first. They both got in first, which, like, when I don't hear anybody praising the government and everyone is just complaining about everything they're doing, letting in all these foreigners, men, you know, of kind of 30 to 40, and that are basically raping women, things that never happened in Ireland. And yet they get the same vote, they're in power again. It's a, you know, you just know there's something seriously wrong.
Yeah, no, Ireland sounds like America in that aspect, just kind of open borders and letting people in. And, you know, we've had thousands, if not millions, of Chinese national men coming in through the southern border of the United States. Thousands of military-aged Chinese nationals. We've had Chinese buying land near U.S. military bases. Doesn't that kind of raise a red flag to the government? Yet they do nothing, right? We have illegals coming in who are burning people on the subway, raping women, killing girls like Lake and Riley, and all these things, right? Like, it's happening. People coming in across an open border system, and it's just like, why don't you care? Kind of thing. I don't think our two parties would ever come together. But the one issue that we have here is that our two parties they're different, right? You have the Republicans, you have the Democrats. Like, you have red and you have blue. Allegedly, that's kind of how it works here, right? But really, in, you know, government, yes, these people, they come in like, oh, I'm running on this platform, and these are my beliefs. I align this way with this party, and I align this way with this party, kind of thing. Once they're there, they're actually doing the work, and they get elected, and then they're here. It's like, you know, I want to make a career out of this. I kind of really like this. There's a lot of cool perks here, and this life is great. Then you start to see more like handshake deals and, you know, compromise and, you know, things to make my career longer and more successful, kind of thing. It turned from about the people and the platform I ran on to something completely different. So it's interesting. So I'm just curious. Last question, and then I promise we'll actually get into our actual conversation today. Sorry, people. I'm just vastly curious. I love hearing about different world points of view. Is Poland more conservative or is it more liberal?
It's conservative, more conservative. We're very Catholic, and they didn't open their borders. So when you look at the safety in the UK and Ireland and Germany, Poland didn't allow them in, and that's why you can walk the streets and feel safe.
Yeah, didn't Poland, like, didn't you guys close your borders to Ukraine?
No, it was Belarus that they were
Belarus.
actually,
Okay.
yeah, they put borders there, which is strange because I actually had somebody that was working with me and they went away and they weren't allowed to come back in. So then they decided to move to Spain. And it's a horrible thing because, like, you're kind of tarred with the same brush. And just because kind of Belarus would be more kind of, I suppose, on the Russian side, I don't know, but it didn't make sense. It's not making sense.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure Belarus is aligned with Russia, kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Yeah, that's what I think as well, and that's hence why they've put the barriers up for them. But I mean, I know some people from Belarus, and they're lovely people. So why are they doing that? I don't know. But the other side of the fence is, like, if I go, like, look at Ireland, that when I was there maybe 2 years ago when I went back, when they leave in a load of foreigners, I mean, like, America is kind of made up of all countries all over Europe, but it loses its character. So when you're getting into a taxi and you don't have an Irish person and have the crack and the laugh, and then when I was looking for directions, because my father had passed and I went back and I was looking to find the office where to get the documentation, and I went into two places, like, and they couldn't even speak English. I know. So when you leave in too many people, you kind of lose what the original thing was in a country. And it's the same, vice versa, like all the people coming into Ireland and England. It's strange they're not going to other Muslim countries when they're trying to push their belief system on their countries. I mean, if people are coming in working because there's, they need doctors and everything. If they're coming in with a trade and they want to work, but most of these people are getting free housing, free everything, and they don't work at all. So they're not providing anything to society, and that's happening internationally. But that's orchestrated. That's all. That doesn't happen just by fluke. This is all organized by higher powers.
No, and that's why countries need, a national language. They need a national religion. They need, these national things that are like the unifiers at the top, right? And then we need political parties that are polar opposites of each other, right? There can be very little middle ground, right? Because it's like, well, they're so similar. What's really the big difference in voting one versus the other kind of thing? That's where a lot of Americans are at, where it's like, well, it's the lesser of two evils, or it's not this one, or it's not this person, or yes, this person is the party I typically align with. That's what happened here with Donald Trump this last election. Is more than half the country voted for him. He won the popular vote, first Republican since 2004, I believe, to win the popular vote, first president since Grover Cleveland to win non-consecutive term. So kind of like how he did, and so it's just like it's historic in itself, kind of the numbers game. Just a lot of people who were supporting the Democrats left that party to now support something else because people are sick and tired of seeing it, right? They're sick and tired of the immigration. They're sick and tired of seeing people get hurt. They're sick and tired of social services being completely drained. They're sick and tired of seeing all these people living off our taxpayer dime. And a lot of people are sick and tired of our country not being taken care of first. I'm not sure if that's an issue in Poland, but we had the hurricane.
Poland doesn't have that, but Ireland has that. Ireland's the exact same. It's like they were spending 800, I don't know, is it monthly? €800,000 to bring the dogs from Ukraine into Ireland. When Ireland went through the kind of the real estate crash in 2008, it was a bit later, and they were throwing people out in the streets. There was women with 2 kids, 3 kids living in cars. They'd done nothing for the Irish. But yet when the Ukrainians came in, and it's like if somebody's coming from war and torn and it's a woman coming in with a child, I'm all for helping them. But when you're throwing your Irish out in the street and you're then bringing in them, and then you're bringing in a load of men from Pakistan and everything where there's nothing going on, and they're giving them accommodation and they're giving them money monthly and free medical and not doing that to their own, there's something seriously wrong.
Yeah, no, that's what we do here all the time for immigrants. We were putting them in beautiful hotels in New York City, like just great historic hotels in New York City, 4 or 5-star hotels in New York City, giving them EBT cards that were loaded up with thousands of dollars, clothes, food, medical, all these things, while there's homeless veterans who fought and served our country just on the streets, dying in the cold all over. And then drugs running rampant all over across America, fentanyl and other drugs everywhere. I'm not sure if you guys have a drug problem there or not.
No, you see, that's the thing. Like, I mean, in Poland, you don't have that. And like, I heard it was like 80,000, but with different statistics in America, it could be up to 250,000 people are dying from fentanyl. And that's all orchestrated.
It's way more. Like,
it's like, it never happened. And that's yearly. I'm talking about yearly, not just to date. And it's like,
way more.
It's more, it's like, yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, I'll look it up here, but and it's like what I don't understand. Like, I'm only 30, but what I don't understand is how do we send billions upon billions upon billions and trillions of dollars to Ukraine to fight this proxy war, but yet we have North Carolina, who was devastated by a hurricane and literally flattened by this hurricane, running out of public assistance. Saying, oh yeah, well your assistant's going to be out right before this huge winter storm comes in. And then in California, we have these massive wildfires. How come there's no water in the reservoir? How come there's no water here? Oh, wait, because they didn't want to pass the measures. Oh, because the governor is a piece of shit, Gavin Newsom, and just a career politician about people. And it's just like they don't truly care, like, at all about the people. And it's really sad, and we don't care about our own country first. We should absolutely stop sending money. We should absolutely close our border to South America. We should absolutely try to, and the whole Canada 51st state thing, that's more of a thing that was more of a thing to agitate Trudeau, who's now resigned. So that was kind of the first step in that. But now to have someone else come in that would be a better leader for the people of Canada to hopefully get them back, some free speech and less censorship and less their bank accounts getting shut down, like the farmers and the truckers, things like that, to get them reinstated, and less like censorship and government control, a little bit more of a fair democracy, and then also, create a better treaty agreement between the two countries. And then same with like Mexico as well. If you want to claim this, then you're gonna have to negotiate with us, right? It's all part of the deal. The Greenland thing is just to maybe agitate Europe a little bit, um, and get people to wake up like, oh shoot, they'll come in and they'll take over our countries, and we'll have the kind of like Puerto Rico, the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico, not a state, might as well be, but the U.S. territory of Puerto Rico will have the U.S. territory of Greenland, kind of thing, right? Where we have these agreements. I don't think people in Europe want an American like country there, because then Americans can literally just fly there. You don't need a passport. You can just get in with your ID, right? And it's less restrictive for like the travel stuff. I would love to travel to Greenland with just my ID. That'd be great. Um, so it's all like, I think it's all just like games and whatnot, to get some attention and to get people talking. And the more people start talking about it, then that's when we can see the things start to move and shake out, kind of how they're going to shake out. Yeah, but no, this has been fun so far. I'm looking it up right now. How many people die in the U.S. per year from fentanyl? Oh, it's gone up. Okay, so the deaths from 2023 and 2024 aren't available yet. Still, in 2022, we're looking at 110,000 in 2022, but that number is definitely skyrocketed because it's everywhere. Literally in like Seattle. So I live in Washington State, but I live on the opposite side of the state from Seattle. But in Seattle, it's called the Seattle slump. Like it's bad when there's just a term to kind of make it normal and you know not like create too much panic about it. But these people just slumped over, hanging like zombies and like tweaking out, and their bodies contorting. It's crazy to watch. It's
I
really
saw
weird.
a video, I don't know, it was in Philadelphia, but the guy was driving around for about 30 minutes, and I just thought, this is like Zombie City. It was like, as you say, the people were just, they're on the ground, they're just
Hmm.
hunched over. And like, I know that happens in a lot of states. Like, I've been to a few parts of America. I never want to go there again because
Yeah, I don't blame you.
it's like, why would you want to go near that? That's so dangerous. And like, I don't know how the locals feel. Like, girl dad, you
Right?
don't want your child and someone around that because there's certain
Yeah.
streets you don't. And how do you know if you're going into if you decide, oh, let's visit some other state? You don't know what's safe and what's not. It's different if you're brought up
Yeah.
in it. You go, let's stay on this side of the track. Don't go there. You're okay. But the problem is, and sometimes they come across the track, and like that should never be the situation. Like, and
Yeah.
that's all orchestrated. The whole lot is that's
100%.
the sad part, and there's no one accountable. That's what frustrates everybody.
Yeah.
It's like
No
you're allowed to
accountability.
get away with this, and unfortunately, I think like from what I'm looking at, it's like it's the sovereignty is what's going to help people. It's like kind of living in your own power, understanding your own power, what you sign for, but you have to go after the individuals because there's people trying to fight this, but they're going for the institutions, they're going for the government, they're going for certain things, and that's a non-entity. You have to go for the individual that's running these, and they bail. Like there's people that are actually doing that. They're going after the person, and they're kind of making them accountable. And once they see that someone's coming after them personally, then they start resigning. And I think that's the only way that it can be done because you can't go, on the attack. Everybody goes against this person and attacks them. That doesn't work. So you have to go for the individual and pen and paper. If you've got a decent legal system and with sovereignty, create your own, common law. And I think America falls under that as well. And I've
Yeah.
seen some successes with that because, like, even when they're trying to, like, if we talk about parenthood, the way they're taking people's kids off them, they don't take the person with the, that's a drug abuser
Yeah.
or child abuse. They take decent people's kids off them. And it's learning how to protect yourself from that. So I'd recommend everybody start learning about common law and sovereignty because you'll understand the power that you got. Because when you're born free, instead of thinking that they control what you can do in life, and that's not how it is.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And they can't control everything, right? They don't control you and everything you do. Yeah, you have to learn, you have to educate yourself, but our schools don't teach us stuff, right? Our schools are so agendized at this point to where they leave out different parts of history, right? They leave out different things. In Washington State, by like October 1st this year, 2025, all public schools have to adopt an LBGTQ curriculum, an LBGTQ history curriculum. It's like, why? What is there? What history is there to know, right? I mean, yes, that's like I want to say it's fine, but for me, it's like not fine. Like, why do my kids need to learn that? How about they learn African American history? How about they actually learn about slavery? How about they actually learn about World War II? How about we actually start getting some other perspectives on these wars and getting those taught in our country? Because you're telling me a whole new perspective that I never heard about. I'm curious about it enough to learn and ask about, okay, what's this perspective? You're right there in, not the middle, but really close to this conflict in Russia, Ukraine. Tell me about what that perspective is there, right? How come we're not taught these things? How come we don't hear these parts, right? Because it's censored. They don't want us to hear these things. They don't want us to know these things about what's actually happening and what the actual perspective is, because they want to find a way to launder this money and pass this money around and all these operations and fund this military industrial complex, things like that. And then it comes to the question is, okay, how come we can't be more like these other first world countries, like a Poland, where you guys rank 5th in education in Europe, 11th worldwide, far surpassing UK and US. The PISA score, 13th in reading, 17th in academics, 22nd in science out of 72 countries that are on that PISA score. Safety, 22nd out of 163 countries on the Global Peace Index. Low levels of violence. Human development, 36th position out of 188 countries. High human development standard. Ranked 42nd out of 178. Poland demonstrates a moderately free economy, which is great. Free economy is awesome. 40th out of 3rd, showcasing its commitment to innovation. 24th out of 190 countries in a favorable business environment. And then I didn't even pull up any health, but I would assume you walk the streets of Poland, and people are generally healthy looking. They're not fat. There's not a lot of preservatives in your food and things like that. I would assume
that has changed. That has changed because I'm 18 years here now, and when I came here, I remember I had investors because I was doing real estate at the start. We were walking down the main street, and they were like, "We don't see any obese people." And that has changed a lot. But we've got all of the franchises. We've got all the McDonald's, the KFCs, and all the food has started to be processed. So unfortunately, they've replicated that. But they are, you still see a lot of people, like there's loads of gyms. People are really looking after themselves. So you've got two extremes. You people that don't care and the people that are watching out for it.
Yeah, but then there's still a difference there, right? You guys have probably way more strict laws on what can actually go into your food, what actually can be put into the food. It's lawless here in America. So many things can be put into our food, especially to our kids' food, that makes them more susceptible to disease. Chronic disease index is crazy here in America. It's so high, and it's sad. But no, I'm looking up right now. The 31st out of 32nd for the World Index of Healthcare Innovation. A little bit lower there. 70th position globally on the healthcare index. Health expenditures, 6.5% of GDP, which is below the European average. So lower investment in healthcare, but maybe there's not a significant need for it. But of course, there's the two extremes. Life expectancy in Poland is 77.12 years. And you just said you're 80, which is impressive. I would not have thought you were 80 at the start of our conversation. So that's so cool. But no, it just shows a difference. Like, how come we can't be like that? Like, there's really nothing stopping us, because we have all the same resources, if not more resources, more people, more innovation, more technology, and we have, if not all the same, if not more of the same thing. So why can't we be like these countries? And like you said, it's like the higher powers, it's the government, it's the people who are running that money and controlling that money. You follow these money streams. Yes, you have 110 million American, but then you go up the stream a little bit and you find, like, okay, these are all the people's bosses. Okay, boop, go up a little bit more, stream gets a little bit more narrow, the CEOs. Then you go up a little bit more, stream gets a little bit more narrow, and then you find out who's the bosses of those CEOs. Then you go up a little bit more, and then it's less and less people who are controlling more and more of the money. At least here as well. So it's like we can be that, but it has to start. It's a top down kind of effort, not a bottom up effort. So our grassroots efforts are really difficult. But yeah, wow, what a remarkable conversation right now. I'm learning so much.
Yeah, and I'm aware of the healthcare in America. And what fascinated me is, at one stage it was 60% of bankruptcies were through health. So people, they're getting cancer or something. And now it's around 40. Like, that's insane that you can actually go bankrupt because you can't afford your medical bills. Like, that's an industry. And it's a sad state of affairs that they're giving people such toxic foods, and all the advertisements are kind of like, Lucky Charms and all these different things as if they're healthy. and they're full of toxic ingredients. And I know that, say, like ketchup and things like that, you've got so much more, and even chips in McDonald's. Not that chips anywhere from McDonald's are good, but apparently you've got a lot more ingredients. So, like, that's
Yeah,
all orchestrated, and you know,
100%.
it's just making people accountable. Is Trump and Kennedy going to do something about it? Unfortunately, from like all the things I see, they're doing things as well. They're making it look like they're the good boys, but if you take the layers off, we can't put trust into these people. We have to try to go at local level, because even if you're talking about the schools, because I mean that's the most important thing. You don't allow these books to be put in there. I mean, I had people on my show that were talking about the unions, the teachers' unions for the education system, and it got removed from YouTube. Why would they remove something like that? Because it's true.
Hmm.
I got kicked off so many channels, and loads of censorship and everything, because they don't want the truth. But the problem is,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I've even stuff spraying, whether you believe it or not, doesn't matter. But like, when you see patents and you can actually see it, and people are going up testing it, and I try to get people to come together. And if you get 3 people and everybody gets 3, and then you get 100 people and you stand in front of the mayor's office, that gets a lot of attention. But most people are afraid. So I had a few people now that were willing to do that. And I just said, all right, let's get this going. Let's get this. Because it's annoying me so much. Because I see so many people getting sick the whole time because they're just spraying you. There was recently fogs everywhere. All orchestrated. They're manipulating it. But
Hmm.
when you ask people to do it, they'll talk, they'll bitch about it, but then they put their head back down because they're afraid they'll be attacked. They won't stand up to make change. And they don't realize that's how you make changes, when everybody comes together and go, we're not having this no more. And that's why they're allowed to do it. Because most people will either attack you for actually telling the truth, or they'll turn their back. The amount of people that actually tell me when they meet me, thanks very much for all the stuff you're doing, but wouldn't give one thumbs up or something like that because they're afraid. And they'll tell me that. And we have to stop that kind of fear, because when there's fear, they know that they can control you. And you have to eliminate the fear and stand in your own power. And just when you see something that's wrong, like for example, like being a dad podcast. If you see somebody in a supermarket whacking a child, we've all seen it. You see them sometimes hitting a child that would knock out an adult. And we turn our back and we walk away as if, like, I don't want to get this. That's the time we have to step up. Because if they're doing that in public, what are they doing at home? And it's the same with everything like that. When you know something is wrong, don't just think it's someone else that's going to resolve it. Because if we put what's right and what's wrong, that's how we'll stop it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's an issue in itself. Like I've worked directly with CPS many times, Child Protective Services, and I've seen major issues in the home, and they don't go and do anything because there's already some kind of support in place. They're already working with an agency or a program or something, so they go and do nothing. But then the abuse continues, and it doesn't screen in, and they don't go and do anything, which is really sad, really disheartening, because it's like, well, we're not really trying to protect the children, or if they do, it's like, why do we remove the children, not remove the parent? Essentially, you need to do both. You need to do both. You need to hold the parent accountable and protect the child. Well, then in that case, it's hard to find a. Sometimes it can be really hard to find a family member, someone else that's stable enough, that wants to take in the child, and there's many additional factors at play there. But I wanted to go back to the whole bankruptcy thing that you mentioned, the number of bankruptcies here in the country, and I had no idea it was that high. See, you're educating me about my own country, which is crazy. But that just goes to show like how much we don't know as the average person here in America, across the board. But 66.5% of bankruptcies in the first quarter of 2020 were individual bankruptcies were directly tied to medical issues, medical debt. And that's because our system is so effed up. And I'm pretty sure that's why I don't have massive reach, because I put out really, really good content, I feel, on YouTube and my podcast and whatnot. I feel really good, especially if I have like 200 episodes and whatnot. Like this is going to be episode 206 when it comes out. I feel like if I have that many, my reach should be much higher, but it's not because it's suppressed, because of the different things I talk about and bring up and dive into. I'm pretty sure it's suppressed because of that. I've never gotten a strike or anything on YouTube, but I'm pretty sure my reach is limited because of that. I do all the right things. I optimize and do all the right things, but that's besides the point. But yeah, like that's a lot of bankruptcies. That's because our medical industrial complex, and it's another industry complex. We hear that a lot in the country, and it's more to push money. It's because and we had a CEO of an insurance company, man, gunned down in broad daylight in New York City, something straight out of a freaking Marvel movie or something. That happens nowhere else in the world, as far as I know. Nowhere else in
Yeah.
the world does that happen.
No, I mean,
Just
yeah,
America,
no, no,
just
I've
America.
never heard of anything like that, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's people praising the shooter. Of course, I don't think anyone's life should be praised, but no one that murdered someone should be praised. But the sentiment as to why he did it, they make sense on the back end because of how effed up our system is, right? Because of going into extreme debt, people being denied care that need it. I just saw a video of a surgeon who was a whistleblower, whistleblowing on an insurance company because they pulled the insurance company called the hospital, said pull that surgeon out of surgery because we're not going to end up paying for all of it, kind of thing. So they pulled them out of that surgery mid-surgery and stopped it. Crazy. I'll have to find it on X again. I'll probably be able to find it, but I'm not gonna pull it up right now. Female surgeon, crazy. But because we have this complex, someone goes to the doctor, right? And I'm sure it's different between here and there. I would love to hear how it is there. So here in America, someone goes to the doctor. They go through this. Sometimes it takes many months to get an appointment. You can go to urgent care or the ER, but those things are typically more expensive on the back end, and they have less resources than your typical primary care doctor. But anyways, you go to the doctor. The doctor spends about 5 minutes with you. Tops, hand on the doorknob the whole time, talks really quickly. Do you have any questions? I don't think. Okay, cool. Here, and their goal is to either write a prescription, right, or to refer you to a specialist for some kind of surgery or further intervention to continue to rack up insurance charges. Average American is either on some kind of state insurance or on some kind of private insurance through work or something, or they have no insurance. Those are pretty much the only three options. I can look up the different numbers and whatnot. But so then you go to the doctor, and you do that, and then you get prescribed a pill, and then that's supposed to help you, whatever, right? Great. The only reason they do that, and they don't actually try to give you any preventative care, it's all reactive care, is because then that's how they get paid. They get paid through PBOs, pharmacy benefit operators, or PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers. Those are the ones who then control the doctors. So if the pharmaceuticals are then controlling the doctors versus the actual healthcare system, trying to help these people and help the average person, with prevention or truly get better, they can't do that because they're strapped on time. They gotta, write more scripts, get paid more, pay the bills, keep the lights on, keep funding the practice, all these things, right? They don't get to do any kind of preventative medicine that they really want to do. I believe most doctors truly want to help people. They truly went into the career with a passion to help and serve people, to make America healthy again. They truly went into that with that cause and at their heart, at their core. But then it's been they woke up, they saw what it is, they thought, okay, if I want to be successful, I want to pay off this massive $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 of student loan debt to become a doctor, then I'm gonna have to push these pills. Unfortunately, I got to compromise myself. And so then they go about it. Then they're controlled by the PBMs, and then the PBMs report back to the insurance companies, and the insurance companies are like, great, we're getting money from here because of the pharmacy, and it's all just an intertwined circle. It's disgusting. But if they can't write you a prescription or they can't send you to surgery, they don't give a shit about you, and they don't want to see you.
I honestly, maybe 5% of doctors, and I think this is international, really care about people. Most of them, if you're getting a kickback, you don't care about the patient. And like I was researching this years ago, and in Ireland, because I have a friend that's a top consultant in Ireland, and I was asking about the kickbacks, which ones don't, because all the big pharma are in Ireland because of the tax loop that they do. So they're able to roll the money around. And she said they all do. So they all give kickbacks. So like if there's a product that's $10 or $100 and the $10 one is better for you, they're going to prescribe the $100 one because they're getting a bigger kickback. And
Yep.
like, to be honest with you, you need to, most people kind of trust the white coats. You have to look after your own health and start looking at what you need to do to ensure that you've got the right vitamins and everything. I mean, I don't take anything. I don't take zero medication. I mean, in the time I was here, last 10 years, I only went to do testing because I had to renew my driving license. And I'd done everything was clear. Like, but unfortunately, majority of people have a cabinet full of tablets and they think that's the norm. And it's not. And they all have toxins in them and side effects. And then it has a knock-on effect, which fuels the system that they've created.
Yeah, no, exactly. And that's the part of the bigger issue here is that we're so misinformed. We're told here that's normal, right? Oh, it's normal if you have to take a whole slate of vitamins, or these companies that you can just put in your information and then they'll send you like a box of vitamins, and you'll have like a packet of like, maybe 4 to 8 vitamins that you take every day because that's where you're lacking, things like that. When really what it comes down to is, well, our food is shit, our food is poison. Our food has poisonous materials in it, and it sucks that I'm a parent. And there's some of those things that I just can't get away from. Right? I can try really hard to get away from a lot of those things, but at the end of the day, I just can't get away from all of them. It's impossible because they're in everything. It's in everything. The only thing that it's not in, really, and even then, there's still dyes and things like that, but there's significantly less and significantly more like health benefit to it. But it's just meat, right? It's just straight meat. Protein, chicken, pork, beef.
But unfortunately, they're feeding them GMOs, especially in America. I mean, I think they're doing it in Europe as well. They're saying they're banned, but they're not. I don't think they're giving them the cheapest of stuff. And
then even too, like for cows, I learned this from talking to a rancher who has his own like meat distribution as well. But the color difference in actual real meat coming from a cow versus the stuff we buy off the shelf is it's the color of your shirt
exactly,
on
yeah,
the shelf
to
versus
light
like
pink.
stuff like that. But then it browns out, right? I learned this when I worked at Walmart actually. And then it browns out because if you put too much pressure on it, then it pushes out all the dyes in everything that they use to make that bright, attractive color. It's like, whoa, that's a red flag. But then again, even then, all the cows are mixed, right? So you can go buy a 5 pound tube of ground beef, right? You could have, let's just say there's a 1 pound from each cow in that from 5 different cows. That's 5 different cows. That's on the very, 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 very conservative side. That's on the very, very low end of the scale. Typically, if you have a 5 pound tube, you're gonna have a lot of cow meat in that 5 pound tube. You don't know where those cows come from. Some of them could have been imported from Poland, some from New Zealand, some from Australia, some from China, some from all over to make that meat. And it's all just thrown into one thing and then processed and then repackaged. But they put it made in the U.S. because it's then packaged in the U.S. That's how they get away with it and making you think, oh, this is all homegrown ground beef. It's not, absolutely not. So it's a trick, and it's
And what I'd
crazy.
encourage people is to look at the processing of even chicken nuggets or hot dogs or anything. Just look at a video how it's made, and you'll never want to eat it again. I get my son. I sit at my youngest child. He's 11 now. He turned 11 at the end of the year, and we sit down and I show him that because he was at one stage he liked hot dogs, and I was like, no, look at this. And he doesn't want it. And I've got an app that when we're going around shopping, we scan the app and it tells you the toxins in it and it gives you a number out of 100. And it's like, I go, we're not getting this. This is terrible. Even though sometimes you crave some sweets and things like that, and you go, no, this isn't good for us. See, even if you want to have a dessert or something, it's okay to splash out every now and again. You get a higher rating one and it's okay, instead of getting one full of toxins.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's important. Wait, so you're 80 and you have an 11-year-old.
I'm what?
You said you're 80, right?
No, I'm not 80. No.
Oh my
No, you
gosh.
said the average age. You were reading the average age. Yeah, fucking hell. If I look 80, I'm
I
doing
thought you
something
had
wrong.
mentioned you were 80. I was like, whoa, crazy. That threw me off. Okay. Well, Roy, I didn't even get to introduce you to anybody, so I just want to ask you a few questions kind of about your story and whatnot.
Well, the main thing is I'm not 80.
He's not 80 people, so that is my bad. Accents, things like that definitely threw me off. I could have sworn you said you were like 80 years old. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. He looks great. But this is the Young Dad Podcast. I'm your host, Jay. If you were new to the program, you've been listening to the last 40 minutes. It causes us talk about like world economics and world differences and things like that, which is really, really cool, really, really fascinating. I'm honestly probably, with everything we talked about, I'm probably going to put this episode up as an episode of Patriarchy Principles. So bear with me there. But Roy's a seasoned serial entrepreneur, podcast coach, and a host who founded over 20 companies across 5 countries. Roy's entrepreneurial spirit ignited at the young age of 9, and since then he's built a remarkable career that includes launching 6 successful podcasts, 4 which rank in the top 0.5% globally, as does this podcast. I'm just saying. Roy's life has been a roller coaster of highs and lows, from enjoying significant wealth and owning multiple properties to facing the loss of everything, including a $5 million personal liability, or €5 million. I put $5 million on my side. 5 million, I would assume euros, maybe dollars. I don't know. Liability. Despite these challenges, he transformed from being extremely shy to becoming a distinguished public speaker, even reaching the finals in speaking competitions across 5 countries with Toastmasters. In addition to his podcasting prowess, Roy is the co-founder of Brain Gym Fitness, a platform dedicated to enhancing cognitive abilities, which is amazing. And then VA.world, where he specializes in connecting clients with the perfect virtual assistant to meet their diverse needs. Roy's passion for reading, self-improvement, and helping others make him a source of invaluable insight. And that's been seen in our conversation so far, the invaluable insights here already today. So Roy, I officially welcome to the show. Sorry,
Thank you very much.
We kind of just jumped in here. I got really excited. I'm like, we just got to jump in and start to see where the hell this goes. I'm trying to see here. Is there anything specific about your journey and about kind of what you've done over the years that you want to highlight or talk about, whether it's related to the world scale, businesses across 5 countries, or just really anything in general that you want to bring up? We have about 20 minutes or so left in the show today.
I think one would be with the losses that I'd done, because I was actually doing very well, and it was I had a load of real estate, and I was doing developments. I was building houses, building 30 apartments and stuff like that. And I had a few syndicates, and basically when the crisis happened in '08, it took a bit longer to come across, but the investors that I was with, some of them were worth a lot of money, 20 million and whatever, and they started losing things. And I thought it was a short term, and I was doing very well in Poland. So I started increasing my share, and I said, listen, I'll charge you 10% at the end of the year. If you can't pay me, I'll increase my share. I was being very fair with them. And they never got it right. And eventually, everything kind of, I wasn't able to fund all the different stuff eventually because I thought it's going to come right. Usually, with a limited liability company, when you lose things, it's like, wash your hands, move on. You've lost there, but, start again. But nobody told me I was the president of a lot of companies and I was personally liable. The accountants didn't tell me that. The solicitors didn't tell me that. So, and then everyone just kind of ran for the hills, and I was caught holding the crying baby. And I just went through a kind of process with that. And I started, like, that was my main reason for kind of the Awakening podcast and stuff like that, fighting the corruption. Because through that, I saw bailiffs were totally corrupt, banks were corrupt, the courts were corrupt. And I was like, this is so wrong, because you don't know it's happening till you're deep in it. And it was kind of that fight. But I suppose the main thing is when you're losing everything and you're basically in survival mode. And I know that happens internationally in America. And I mean, especially when we're talking about the bankruptcy through health and everything, there's a high percentage of people will have that at some point in their life where they're having a serious financial issue, whether even in business, but like no matter what happens in life and partner and everything, you go through some major stress. So with me, it was like meditation. I started learning like 6-phase meditation. So just kind of guided meditation was something that helped me. But one was the act of forgiveness. Being grateful was one. You're grateful. Instead of thinking of lack, I don't have this, I don't have that. Be grateful your child is giving you a cuddle. Be grateful that you've got food on your table. Be grateful for the small things. Go for a walk. You don't have to be going into the restaurant. You can just go for a walk and appreciate nature. And that's it. But the other thing was the act of forgiveness. And through all the different businesses I have, you've anger because there's people rip you off, and there was so many different things. And I was, all right, I need to forgive. That was my thing. I have to forgive. And there was small ones were easy enough, but there was other ones that were difficult. And what I did is I brought him back to the child. I brought him back that you're a child, and when you see a child, we've unconditional love for a child. We just coo at a baby. And when you look at that, you go, there's external circumstances, like we talked earlier with, there's abusive parents and stuff like that. So you don't know, were their parents alcoholics? Were they abusive? Were both parents working so hard that they left the child out doing his own thing and he ended up with the wrong people? So I was able to forgive everybody based on thinking they were born pure, and it was external circumstances that allowed. And what it actually done is it freed it from me, because the anger was within me. And then I was able to kind of let it go. And, sometimes when people are talking about their circumstances and what happened to them, you can see they're reliving it and the pain is there, and sometimes they're crying, and that doesn't happen. You let it go. So I think people should just practice that, not to have hatred, because they're not thinking about you. So if you can actually forgive, it's not that you actually forget, because, sometimes you're not going to bring somebody back into your life, whether it was a business thing, and then do it again. I mean, you learn from your mistakes and you're not going to open the door again. But at the same time, you're not going to have anger every night and go not sleeping because you're thinking of, oh, if only this happened because of that person. Let it go. And when you let it go, it allows you to flourish.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly what forgiveness does, right? Let's hit on gratitude first. I want to hit on that first. You know, Gratitude is so important. It's so important to have that perspective, to be grateful for things, because especially here in our country, in America, I guess in my country, not our country, in my country, America, people are so ungrateful, right? People are so ungrateful. They just want the next best thing, and they can't focus on what they have right now and be grateful for that. I'm not talking about all people. Not everyone's this way. I know a lot of really good people that are very dedicated to a gratitude practice, that are very, focused on, yeah, this is great. Where I'm at right now is great. What I have right now is great. It's all great, fantastic, lovely, love it, all the things, right? And that's awesome. That's how it should be. And then you fast forward to the rest of the people, and it's like I just want more. I just want more and more and more and more and more. There's that constant need for more stuff or better stuff. The new iPhone's out. I gotta get it. You already got last year's. I know, but I gotta get that. Why don't you just use what you have? It still works great. No, no, no. I gotta get the newer, better one. I gotta get it. I have to get it. Kind of thing. Oh, my phone company's doing an upgrade program. I can just go trade it and get a better one. Okay, you can, but I gotta go get this new thing. I gotta go get this new thing, or I gotta have better clothes. I gotta have better shoes. I gotta have better this material things at the end of the day. And it's like, well, let's just slow down and let's just focus on what we got. You have health. You have a car that drives. Some people don't even have that, and it's like that perspective is so shifted. It's like let's just slow it down and focus on what we got. And be cool with what we got. Something I really try to work with my kids on. It's like, yes, I could get you that, but I'm not going to. I say no a lot to my kids. Do I feel bad sometimes? Yes, because I want to give them all the things, but I know if I get them all the things, then that's not going to be great for them. I get them what they need, a tiny bit extra. Not saying I never get them anything, but I get them a tiny bit extra. Do they need all the things that they ask for? Absolutely not. To try to make them, feel great for what they have, or it's like I'm so bored with all my toys, and it's like, okay, then I'll throw all your things out. No, 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 no. Okay, then go and use what you have. You have plenty to use. Go and use it. Go and find a way to use it. Go and use your imagination. Go get creative. Go do all those other things, right? Like gratitude practice is so important. Like being appreciative for what you have, using what you have, and just kind of being okay with the circumstances as they are. Because there's a lot of things you can't control. There's a lot of things you can't control either. We're really blessed. It sounds like we're both really blessed to live in the countries that we live in. Yes, I live in America, and it's a complete shit show overall. Like at the highest levels, and trickle down, and the shit rolls downhill here. But overall, pretty blessed to be born in a first world country. Pretty blessed to live in a country that's not torn apart by war all the time and bombs dropping on your head. So you gotta be grateful for what you gotta be grateful for, right? You can be grateful for all those things. There's a lot of things you can be grateful for, but probably not on a regular basis. And then the forgiveness. The forgiveness thing is something that is so powerful because forgiveness, like you're saying here, it sets you free, right? The person that wronged you, the person that hurt you, they're probably not thinking about you anymore. They don't care if they get your forgiveness or not. They really don't. You're never going to get their forgiveness. They're never going to come and offer you, no, maybe never say never, but probably about a 95% chance they're never going to come and say sorry. Any of those investors, Roy, that you had, or any of those accountants that didn't inform you, right? I'm pretty sure none of them ever came and offered you an apology, right? And asked you for your forgiveness. And so we have to offer it, right? We have to freely offer it. And, I assume if you're there in Poland and most of the country's Catholic, you're Catholic, I'm Christian, and that's just an assumption here. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm Christian, and one of the founding core principles there is that for forgiveness. You're supposed to love everyone and forgive people, even if they wronged you. You turn the other cheek, you keep moving. You forgive, you love, you move on. So that forgiveness is something that we're taught and we're kind of told to do from the Bible to do. And that forgiveness sets you free. Doesn't do anything to the other person. They're never going to know if you forgave them, but you're going to know. You're going to know if you forgave them. You're going to feel different. You're going to feel lighter. You're going to feel that burden kind of off of you, right? Because they're not thinking about you. They don't care about you anymore. But you're still holding on to something. And at the end of the day, it's not their responsibility to come in. Well, it is their responsibility to take accountability and say sorry and offer an apology and ask you for your forgiveness, right? That would be great if they did that, right? But they're not going to. But at the end of the day, your responsibility for your heart, for your mind, for your well-being is your responsibility. So it's up to you to forgive them. It's up to you to own that. It's up to you to move forward. Only you can do that. No one can do that for you, unfortunately. You have to do it. You have to take ownership of that. You have to take that ownership part of it.
With the children, and I are mentioning when they're looking for stuff, what I've learned is if you buy Uno or some games like that and just sit down with them, because when you actually play and spend the time, that's what they crave. Because sometimes we're working hard to get them, the latest computer console or the latest thing and taking them on the fancy holidays and everything. And sometimes they just want to sit down. And even my child, we'd often go and we have a lovely conversation. I just love it. We're just walking, taking a walk, enjoying the walk and having a good conversation. Like a lot of people don't do that. They just kind of like, I'll do my thing, you do your thing, and you go off. And generations changed. Like, I mean, I grew up and it was like kind of most of the men kind of went working and didn't spend much time. I can't remember many of the fathers spending time with their kids when I grew up. It was all the mothers. And then it kind of changed. And it's like, you basically spend the time with them, but also in a relationship, what happens is people burn each other out. They try to do everything together as the family when they're doing things together instead of giving each other a break. Like if they're together, I mean, I'm not together with the mother, but just when there is, the household is together, that you take the kids away and do something and let the mother relax and vice versa. But most people don't do that. What they do is they try to do everything together and then they're at each other's throats and they wear each other out. So it's like, allow everybody to recharge their batteries. You don't have to be spending 8 hours, 10 hours playing with the kid. I mean, when I'm with my son, I say, all right, look, 2 hours, then I do my thing, he does his thing, and then we, later we do something again, and that seems to work for us.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. You got to find what works. You know, different things work. And you mentioned that you're not with your son's mom still. No, okay, that's fine. I'm just curious.
And like that's something. I mean, like he was one when we split, and it's something that
Okay.
I've made it that we have a very good relationship. That there's not hatred there because I see so many people when they're broke up, and I mean, there's a very high percentage internationally as well. It's becoming more normal, which is it's a shame, but that's just what it is. And it's like, unfortunately, people use the kids like a chess piece and they're just bad mouthing the
Yeah.
other partner or preventing them from seeing it. And it's like, don't do that. Like, you don't own the child. You're just there. They're their own soul. They've come into the world. You just help them and never badmouth the mother or the father and don't stop them seeing. Obviously, there's some of them that they're not fit to be a parent and that's the
Mm-hmm.
different circumstances. But I've seen so many people that are very good and the other partner just made their life miserable. And thankfully, I haven't done that. That we respect each other. We're able to have conversations. We're able to sit down and have a coffee and go and tea. There's no problem. And I wish everybody was like that because it's the actual children that are hurt when there's hatred between the parents when they split.
Yeah. No, and that's a big difference that's here too. Just from how you're talking about it, uh, I looked it up real quick here too, and Polish law emphasizes the child's welfare, typically favoring joint parental responsibility post-divorce. Parents are encouraged to make joint decisions on significant matters concerning the child. If parents cannot agree, the court may intervene to determine custody agreement. So it sounds like overall, with in Poland, there parents are typically able to have that something amicable and come together, make those joint decisions, figure out a system that works, and be confident in that, and make it work for the child's best interest, more or less. Of course, there's going to be the extremes with those who aren't that, who are going to be more bad mouthy and doing those things and whatnot. Does that sound pretty?
Yeah, I mean, like I've got equal custody, and basically, like I brought my son to school today. His mum will collect him. He'll stay in his mum's. Then I'll collect him tomorrow evening, and he'll stay with me. And it's kind of on and off like that. And he loves it. He's happy with both of us, and that's what I want. I don't want a case where he's not happy going to any of us. He loves
Yeah.
both of us, and he wouldn't want anyone else. And he's often telling me about friends, parents, and everything. And he's kind of grateful of what he's got, even though sometimes these parents are together, sometimes the situation is a million times worse. So
Hmm.
I think, like it allows me that the days that I don't have him, that I get most of my work done. And when he's with me, I'm not working, that I'm present with him and I'm doing things. And I'm conscious of that I appreciate the time because, it goes fast. Like, I mean, how fast a
Sure.
child,
Goes
you
fast.
blink
Goes fast.
and they're like, my eldest daughter, like she'll be 25 this year, and it's like you just blink and you're going. So make sure that you enjoy every moment of it.
Absolutely. That's so cool. So is it pretty typical for both sides to get equal custody of children in Poland? Is that pretty common?
I'm not sure. I just know that I've seen a few situations where they weren't as friendly as I am. Like there was just
Okay.
hatred there. So it's like every situation is different. But
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Makes
yeah,
sense. You can't speak on
yeah.
everyone's situation. Yeah, no, very different here. Very different here in the state. Because each state has its different law. Each state has its different things. Typically, blue states will favor the mother. Typically, red states will be a little bit more equal and actually look at the situation for what it is. And then if you go into more conservative areas, more red areas, then you kind of get a little bit more fairness. Even in blue states, you get a little bit more fairness, and it's not always about the mother. It's not always about, kind of mom first kind of thing, which is really great. But it even says here, generally focuses on the child's best interest. There's no one size fits all for any of these things, right? But we have 50 different states here, maybe 51 if we get Canada, we'll see, or Greenland or something, whatever. I'm just playing. But we have these different frameworks in every different state. It's all different across the board. So there's no two situations the same. And then even the state is so different. You guys operate under a civil law system with uniform national laws, while we operate, common law system with state-specific statutes, leading to variability in custody decisions and whatnot. And if you're trying to do cross-state custody decisions, it's a fucking mess and it's crazy. Polish society typically places a strong emphasis on family unity, which influences both divorce rates and custody decisions. In contrast, us in the U.S., we exhibit more acceptance of divorce, reflected in a higher divorce rates. Like, we're double your guys' divorce rate. We're at almost a 3 per 100,000. You're at like a 1.5 per 100,000. Which that just goes to show, that's why it's so important to have these national things, national, religion, national values, things like that. Like, what do we as a country value versus, okay, what do we as a state or all these different things value on place to place? So, I think we're okay. So yeah, really cool. But man, Roy, this has been so fun to go back and forth and to chit chat here about the difference of Poland and the United States and all the different things we covered today, the varying things. Really, really cool. Really, really awesome. I apologize we didn't get too far into your story and all the different things that you're about, all your different adventures and things that you've had over the year, but I feel like we had a really fun, unique conversation that a lot of people will benefit from hearing the different perspectives, and hopefully it doesn't get too censored on YouTube or Spotify or anything. Maybe I'll just put it straight up on X and whatnot so it doesn't, but I think it's really important for people to hear a lot of different things we shared today. So Roy, honestly, thank you so much for sharing your journey and the wealth of knowledge you gained along the way. Your story is, a testament of resilience, continuous learning, and the power of perseverance. You wouldn't have been able to get through anything you went through without resilience, without perseverance. And so it's really inspiring to myself to see cool stories like this, even though we didn't get into it too much. But just in the conversation, I can tell there's a lot of that there. For our listeners who want to learn more about Roy's work, his podcast, or the various businesses he's involved in, please visit roycoughlin.com. Is that correct? Okay, yep, that's ROYCOUGHLAN.com. That's where you'll find links to his 6 podcasts, information about Brain Gym Fitness, VA World, and other ventures he's passionately working on. And again, thank you guys for all tuning in to the podcast. Remember, challenges are inevitable, but it's how we respond to them that defines our path. Let's take inspiration from Roy's journey to keep pushing forward, learning, and strive for a better future for ourselves and our families. Until next time, take care and keep pursuing your dreams.